Good afternoon, Bloke here, and I am going to carry on having done ID 25 and also talk about Bluey, which is not an Bloke 25. Sorry, start again, 26 for 26 idea. I'm actually just going to go for my last idea, put them all on YouTube. Here we are on the 29th of December. And here's my final idea. And this is actually one of my favorites. I think this is, well, I sort of say in the article, IIG, it could be off to the horses. I'm not kidding. But look, none of this is advice. You make your own investment decisions, as always. But I am very excited in a personal capacity about this idea. So, IIG. This is a 270 million market cap. I recorded this, or I wrote this before Christmas, actually. So I think as I speak, I'm probably going to have to change this to 130p because it has gone up slightly since I wrote this. But this is an investment trust who has numerous holdings in their portfolio. The main one is called HUI10, HUI 10. Okay, I'm not going to talk about any of these others. I'm frankly not at this stage interested in any of these others. I am only looking at HUI 10. And when I sort of explain HUI 10 to you, you'll probably understand why. So in other words, there is potential for some other upside from other parts of Intuitive Investments Group, IIG, but this is the one that I'm particularly interested in. So HUI 10 is a technology company, and they are involved. Well, hopefully this kind of gives you a clue. So what's this guy got? He's in China. He's pointing at, which perhaps is reminiscent of a different lottery. It could be, you might sort of recognize where this sort of thought process has gone. But what has he got in his hand? He's got a paper lottery ticket. Well, guess what, folks? China still has paper lottery tickets. They don't have any kind of digitization, at least not yet. So HUI 10 is involved in the digital transformation of the Chinese lottery industry. Now, their their platform is called Lucky World, and it's unlocking the expansion of the Chinese lottery. So there are actually two Chinese lotteries. We'll be talking about what those are in a minute. And the idea is that if you look at the UK, the number of people that play the lottery. I've never played the lottery. The only lottery I play is the one on the stock market when I make my own investment decisions. Never once played the national lottery or any of the other ones. So there we go. But I know plenty of people that do, and they kind of talk about getting their lucky numbers. And I also know a few people of Chinese ethnicity who tell me that many Chinese are avid gamblers, and that if you go to the casinos, they're full of Chinese. If you go to Macau, Macau is a very popular destination. Why? Because Chinese people love to gamble. That's hopefully not a sort of what's the word? A sort of that's just what I've been told by people who are themselves ethnically Chinese. So that's kind of the reputation. The facts, though, is that many more people in Britain gamble than in China. Part of the reason for that is that the only outlet, apart from traveling to Macau or somewhere else abroad, the only place where people can gamble is the lottery. And the only way they can do that is if they visit one of the 200,000 lottery shops. Now, these lottery shops sell paper tickets. Can't go online. You can't do anything from your phone. You've got to walk to a shop, and it might be that that shop now 200,000 sounds like a very large number. It's not. Not in China. It's not. If I say to you that in the UK there are 300,000 outlets selling lottery tickets. Plus, it's available online, apparently, and there are, of course, other forms of gambling online as well. So what we're talking about is a country where you've got people that like to gamble, allegedly. I'm not casting any negative aspersions or anything like that. Please don't write in to complain. But that's what I've been told. Where you've got quite a restriction, quite a large restriction on their ability to gamble. In other words, these 200,000 shops, I mean, could be what 50 miles, 100 miles away from for some quite a lot of people. Of course, quite a lot of them are going to be based in cities and such like, but that doesn't guarantee anything. Just because there's a such and such shop in a city, that doesn't mean it's easy for you to go and visit it. So anyway, they in these shops currently there's not a lot of product sales other than lottery tickets. You know, they're kind of quite backwards looking. So part of Hui Ten's work is to basically run in joint venture with them to find new and interesting products to sell in those shops. So there's kind of not there's not just a digitization story here. There's also a joint venture product sales story as well. So digitizing the lottery, but this is currently being rolled out where the technology is all built, the all the IP you know, it's all produced. They've got a working system. They've got the approval from the Chinese authorities to they have the exclusive contract. There are two lotteries in China. There's a sports lottery and then there's a welfare lottery. The sports lottery, which is called Team China, is the kind of like the Olympic team, the Chinese Olympic team, pretty much. It's not just the Olympics; it is just sport generally. So it would be any kind of national, you know. So um, I suppose the Olympics is where the Chinese team, you know, that's sort of the highlight, I suppose, event. But yeah, any kind of fundraising goes towards sports facilities and scholarships and sponsorships and so on for people to pursue a sporting career. And so that is funded by the lottery. Um, when you look at how much is sold through these 200,000 shops, currently it's about 60 billion pounds worth of lottery tickets each year. 40 billion is the sports lottery, 20 billion is the welfare lottery. If you look at gross income and purchasing power parity, things like that, then you know the differences become quite stark. That China has a population 20 times larger than the UK. So if we have 300,000 shops and points of sale in the UK plus online, 200,000 is kind of 30 times fewer shops comparatively. So the idea is to expand those shops tenfold to 2 million locations. In the UK, gambling is accounts for 16.8 billion, of which the National Lottery, which is the largest lottery, is 8 billion in terms of sales per year, and then other lotteries is 1.5, so 9.5 for lotteries. But what you've got to bear in mind is that all other forms of gambling in China, excluding Macau, the territory of Macau, all other parts of China, there is no other gambling, or at least no other legal gambling. Every other form of gambling uh, um, is prohibited. So the lottery is the only outlet where if people want to gamble, they can fly to Macau, go on holiday, or they can do the lottery. Those are the choices. Or they can break the law is the third choice, but not a choice that's recommended in China. Um, so you're kind of looking at something like, in terms of purchasing power parity, China is about 2.2 times lower than the UK. So really, the Chinese lottery, to be the same size as the UK lottery, should be about 2.5 times larger. So it should be about 150 billion, not 60 billion. So 150% growth would sort of, put it on a par with the UK, pro rata. Um, Moving on to the partnerships that Hui Ten have struck up. These are not insubstantial partnerships. The partnership with Sinopec, Easy Joy. Now, obviously, these names may or may not mean very much, but if I say to you that Sinopec is kind of like the BP or the Shell of China. So it's the large oil company that incidentally own 27,800 stores throughout China. So essentially, that's 3 times as many petrol stations as in all of the UK. The UK has about 10,000, or about 9,500 petrol stations. So Sinopec are going to be an outlet for the lottery. Um, the Hui Ten are going to equip each of the petrol stations with a digital terminal, um, but also will stock merchandise. Now, one of the other aspects to this, as well as raising money for Team China, there's a joint venture with Team China where it's kind of, and we'll come on to the specifics of this in a minute, but there's also the merchandise. So the Team China merch that I mentioned here is the other aspect to this. Hui 10, so that's the first agreement. Sinopec petrol stations, 3 times as many petrol stations as all of the UK's petrol stations. Um, Now, Hui 10 have also, back in January of this year, basically struck an agreement with the General Administration of Sport of China, which is the Chinese equivalent of the British Olympic Association. Okay, so that gives Hui 10 the exclusive right to promote Team China merchandise. So it's kind of like, if you go to the Team GB website, which is the equivalent in Britain, Team GB have Adidas and Ben Sherman as the exclusive merchandisers. So Hui 10 have that equivalence to what Adidas and Ben Sherman have in the UK. The difference being is that there are 20 times more Chinese people than there are British people, and I think this is an important point, the proportion of Chinese people who say that they are very proud or proud of being Chinese compares very favorably to the percentage of British people who say they are very proud to be British. In other words, if you're more likely, if you're more proud of being, you know, Chinese, you're more likely to buy Chinese sports, Chinese Olympic merchandise, I would argue, than if you're very proud of being British. I mean, okay, yes, you might hate Britain, but like the Olympics and like to support the British Olympic team. I mean, that's possible, but I think there's quite a good corroboration between being nationalistic and being pro sport, or pro, certainly supporting your national team. I think there's probably a good level of uh, proportionality to that. So, and it was a similar proportion, by the way, that were willing to fight for their country. So only a quarter of the British population would be willing to fight for Britain, according to surveys, whereas 2/3 of the Chinese would be willing to fight for China. So that's 900 million Chinese versus 15 million British. So I think I know who will win that one. Uh, I mean, it's a bit sad, but there we go. Those are the statistics. I'm just, I guess, um, yes, I sort of make the comment. Our British fighting spirit has been spirited away, it would seem. And anyway, Team China, 840 different licensed products, and guess what? There's pandas, there are figurines, plush toys, all that kind of, it's probably a cat doing that. There's all sorts. So anyway, they've got the exclusive right to Team China to sell Team China merchandise. I'm sure a chunk of it will go back to Team China as to, sort of here's your cut of the profits. But Hui Ten stand to make a cut of the profits as well. We don't know what those profits will be, by the way. There's no commercial there's no insight into what the commercial deal will look like other than it's a joint venture. So some of the money will go to Hui Ten, some of it will go to Team China, and some of it will go, equally to the producers of the merchandise. I mean, obviously the manufacturers, but I mean, I don't know how much one of these little panda bears will cost to manufacture. I suspect it's not a great deal because it's going to be manufactured in China at a very low cost. So that's where we're at with the second partnership. The third partnership is with the shops themselves. So there's 200 state shops that essentially are going to be shops that are going to sell the Team China merchandise and other merchandise that Hui Ten create agreements for. So Team China merchandise in 200,000 Team China shops is a great reason for more people to visit those shops than if it was just selling lottery tickets. And by the way, when they're buying their little plush panda, it's a bit of a tongue twister, that one, when they're buying their little plush panda and all the other Team China stuff, they might well go in and buy some lottery tickets, or maybe buy a lottery ticket for their gran or whatever. There's a more of a reason to visit these shops to go and get the Team China merchandise, which 67% of the population say they are very supportive of, in terms of being very proud of their country and proud to fight for China should the need ever arise. Now, sales without any of this, sales rose 8% or 7.9% in 2024, lottery ticket sales I'm talking about. So there is quite a good level of growth anyway, despite it not being digital, despite it only being 200,000 shops. So there's kind of you can tell that there's they're pushing on an open door. It doesn't stop there, folks, because Hui Ten have also got an agreement with Diageo. Diageo, you may have heard of, is a very large drinks manufacturer, global drinks manufacturer. They make Guinness, they make Johnny Walker, they make other things. I don't know. I've run out of Diageo-based drinks at that point. I think quite a lot of the exclusive whiskies. By the way, they're not selling Guinness in Chinese shops. They're not selling Johnny Walker. Uh, Diageo own now you'll have to forgive my pronunciation here, but Baijiu is a Chinese liquor. It's kind of a Chinese alcohol, very popular Chinese alcohol. Diageo own or have a Baijiu um, manufacturer, and there's a second Baijiu manufacturer called Sichuan. So both of these two companies also have a sales agreement where they will sell their products through the 200,000 lottery shops. So you can go in and get your lottery tickets. And by the way, let's pick up a bottle of Baijiu. But it doesn't stop there, because the agreement is not just to sort of sell merchandise through the 200,000 shops and the 30,000 petrol stations, but it's also the fact that a lot of the Baijiu is fake, is illegal, is sort of manufactured by, not by Diageo, not by Sichuan. They're manufactured by, sort of I don't know, whatever the Chinese equivalent of rednecks are, with their distilleries that that illegally make fake Baijiu, and this is a huge problem in China. A quarter of all the alcohol that is consumed is illegally produced. And a lot of the time, these people don't know that it's genuine. So how do you know that what's one of the ways that you can make sure that it's genuine? Well, and this is kind of where it gets quite clever. Hui 10 will basically strap a lottery ticket onto every bottle of Baijiu sold by Diageo and Sichuan wherever it gets sold. So it's not only going to be sold and sort of sold via the 200,000 lottery shops across the millions of outlets where these Baijiu bottles are being sold. There'll be a lottery ticket strapped to them. Now, obviously, that'll increase the cost of the bottle because they kind of have to kind of essentially buy a lottery ticket. So, let's say the lottery ticket's £1. I don't know that it's specifically £1, but let's say it's £1. Your 20 quid bottle of Baijiu. By the way, some of these Baijius go for like hundreds of pounds. I mean, they're like it's not sort of cheap stuff. It's kind of quite exclusive. It's quite a high end. It's like the equivalent of a malt whiskey for the Chinese. It's quite a cultural thing. A lot of business deals will be, let's crack open the Baijiu. I want to sort of impress you. I'll bring you a bottle of Baijiu to kind of show you how much respect I have for you. So these Baijius with lottery tickets strapped to them, where you can know that it's the real McCoy, it's like having a little, I don't know, wax seal or something that, oh, okay, we know it's not been tampered with because it's got a lottery ticket on it. It's quite a genius move, really. Plus, that'll increase the number of lottery ticket sales. Plus, it'll get people into the whole thing of because it's only by actually using the lottery ticket can you because it's only when you use the lottery ticket that it will sort of verify that this is a valid bottle of Baijiu, that it kind of gets people into using the lottery. And if the lottery is also available online, well, they go into the local store. They don't have one of the 200,000 state shop outlets anywhere near them, but they go into their local store, pick up a bottle of booze. Right, okay, I can see it's genuine because there's a lottery ticket. Let's do the lottery. Oh, right, I can play it online. Oh, let's download the app. You could just imagine how this is going to mushroom, in my opinion. In my opinion. I mean, I don't know any of this is going to necessarily happen other than it feels like all these jigsaw puzzle pieces are coming into place. And this is why I'm excited about this idea. I mean, these are not small companies, folks. Diageo in China, so this is not Johnny Walker, this is not Guinness, this is not sort of anything other than Baijiu, and I hope I am pronouncing that correctly. I'm probably not. I'm pounds worth of uh, Baijiu each year, 550 million pounds sterling turnover. So this isn't small beer or small Diageo. It's pretty substantial. So that's a fantastic deal to have struck with two different manufacturers, and that's kind of how it looks. You have like a little thing on the side, a little QR code. Poof! Right, great. Yeah, that's a genuine bottle. Thank you very much. Okay, so that's that. It's there's not that many more of these, but let's finish them off. There's also a 3,000 beer franchise bars that are going to have lottery terminals as well. So you know there's a cross deal there as well. So the UrBrew, I'm not sure whether it's UrBrew or UrBrew, whatever they are called, UrBrew, are going to be in the 200,000 lottery shops. So there'll be joint venture income from that back to Hui 10. But also that the 3,000 shops that sell UrBrew will also be selling lottery tickets as well. So you can sort of see the direction this is all going. It's essentially the fact that it's just sort of something that potentially is colossal. Now, in an interview, they spoke about having a gross margin of 1.75%, and there are a couple of broker notes out there on this as well. So you can, if you're a member of Research Tree or whatever, you can go and read those. They sort of largely kind of reach the same sort of conclusion of 1.75. So I sort of talk about those there. That the target valuation of this company, according to one broker guess, was £3 billion. Bearing in mind that you can buy this company today for 270 million, it's a 270 million market cap. So that would be an 11 bagger if it gets to the 3 billion valuation. What I've done is do my own maths on this. Now, I'm not saying my maths is better or superior, but I've just sort of done my own sort of calculations. Now, I've not been able to do any kind of like, well, this is what the joint venture income's going to look like. But if you've got a joint venture with two companies each turning over $500 million, I mean, there's got to be some skin in the game for Hui Ten in and amongst all those sales of Baijius and lottery tickets and so on. But if we say like today, the revenue share, so this is kind of looking at a few different metrics where ticket sales, and then the revenue to Hui 10. So this is sort of the sales that are being done digitally. So as an operator, what I've done is I've taken that. You can sort of see it here. The EBIT is kind of about 1.75. So that's kind of in keeping with what the company themselves said and say, and what the brokers are saying about the margin, that that it's 1.75 of the ticket sale, is kind of what I'm looking at. What I've based this upon is the revenue share to Hui 10 of these ticket sales, and then taking an earnings value out of that. So that's kind of where I'm taking this 25% assumption. So what I'm doing is I'm taking 7% of gross. Oh, sorry, no, I'm not taking 7%. They're taking 7%. I kind of said to myself, well, I don't feel that 7% is the right number personally. I kind of said we know today that 65 to 70% is prizes, and these are sort of just generally, like, I consulted on other lotteries like the National Lottery and others. Well, what do they do? Well, generally it's sort of, about two-thirds is prizes, about 20 something percent is good causes, and then there's about 5 to 7% for the retailer, and about 3 to 5% for the operator, not 7%. And the basis by which I sort of base that, Alwyn, which is the UK operator of the National Lottery, take 5% of the, so when you buy a £1 lottery ticket, 5p goes to Alwyn, the operator of the National Lottery, and then the retailer 5 to 7%. So if you go to WH Smith, for example, they'll get 5p. Alwyn get 5p. Good causes get 20p, and then 70p goes in prizes, that kind of thing. So the splits that I've come up with is that the commission is lower. It's about more like 5%, I believe, not 7. That these 200,000 shops are kind of making about 7%. This is the split of the National Lottery, for example. One interesting little fact that I thought, I didn't know, I didn't realize that. I know I've never done the National Lottery because I've always considered it to be a bit of a rip-off, as in, only 50 something percent of it actually comes back to you in prizes. So you're going to lose, for every pound you put in, you're going to lose 40 something p on average, statistically. And that's just how I've always viewed gambling. So that's just me. But yeah, interestingly, 12 pence in every pound of every lottery ticket goes to the government in tax. Who knew that? I was shocked by that. I was genuinely shocked. I thought the sneaky XYZs. Anyway, that's just something. Um, kind of coming back to this though, if I say 5% of the ticket value goes to Hui 10, and the margin on that is 1.4, that kind of then suggests that three quarters of it is going in operating costs. 1.4 net margin after tax to Hui 10. I mean, even so, based upon there being sort of today number of people need people to, doing the lottery is 10%, which is 140 million people. If they're spending on average 850 renminbi, which is it's about sort of 85 pounds a year, which isn't very much. I mean, that's like 25p a week, something like that. There's 119 million, 119 billion of ticket sales, and the revenue that goes to Hui is that, which would equate to a profit of that. If they can grow this to the 30% of the population, same as the UK, and if the penetration is far easier, far better, so the expenditure is about £500 per year. So what I've done is I've said it's a lower proportion than the UK, but it's going to be sort of on a purchasing power basis proportionate. You'd be looking at a Hui generating an annual profit of 2.8 billion. Now, this is for an asset that today is worth 270 million. And this is why I've sort of not even considered any of the other companies. That I'm not particularly interested in the other companies at this stage. I mean, they are just icing on the cake if they're worth anything at all. This is the one that's worth, this is the main asset of IIG. But yeah, you can sort of imagine a company that's generating 2.8 billion of profit is not going to be worth 0.27 million pounds. So, I mean, if you said 10 times, that would put it at a valuation of 28 billion, which would be 100 bagger or 110 bagger from its current level. So it's got the potential to be absolutely colossal. Could it all go horribly wrong? I mean, yes, there's of course risks. I think the thing that I'm particularly encouraged by is that they are only taking a small cut. I mean, 5% is not a large cut of it. They are obviously an essential cog in the wheel, that they will enable. Just the amount of money going to Team China to increase and grow, which will help encourage and improve the profile of sports, and sports internationally, for China to be the the winning gold medalist at the next Olympics. You can see, like, I don't know if you watch the Olympics, but if you do, you'll kind of know that the Chinese take it very seriously, as do many countries take it very seriously. But the Chinese do try and become number one, and of course they're butting heads with the Americans right now. So um, I think it sort of becomes quite part of the essential apparatus for don't kill the golden goose. So there's reasons to think that whilst the rug could get pulled from Hui 10, it's also the case that the Chinese government might say, well, they've done a great job for Team China, money for the welfare society lottery as well, like, no problem. Like, they've that people are allowed to get rich in China. I mean, it's not that they are that they're against that. So that's kind of the reason for this to be the last of the 26 ideas. I hope that's been a useful and interesting video to watch. As I say, you can sort of catch the company here, and this article will be released in the next um, couple of days. I think the news flow is quite interesting in here. If you get a chance to look at their website, that you can sort of see the sort of news flow is pretty much what I've described in my article. So the strategic cooperation deal with Yingsheng, all these sort of different things that have been going on over the past year. So yeah, it feels like this one could be a very interesting idea for 2026. But as I say, none of this is investment advice. You make your own investment decisions, usual stuff. But yeah, I'll leave this one with you. And my final idea for the picks for 26. Okay, thank you for watching. Cheerio for now. Take care. Bye bye.